Good afternoon. After weeks tightly woven in suspense on one rank one pension, the word now is that the government today, come 2:30 p.m., will go ahead, make that announcement of one rank one pension and put forth what is their draft, their one rank one pension formula.
The veterans are meeting the government even as we speak. A delegation of veterans, they've reached South Block. General Satbir Singh, several other veterans are meeting the Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar. There is this last-ditch effort. The government will give details of their draft and hope for one more time that the veterans will come on board. There are three major points of contention even today. One, the government wants a review every 5 years. The veterans want it every 2 years. The government says those who take premature retirement on being superseded, they will not be entitled to one rank one pension. The veterans say that should not be the case. Everyone should be entitled to one rank one pension. And third, the averages. The government is talking about taking an average of the highest and the lowest in the category of every pension. The veterans say there is nothing about averages. OROP should be implemented as per the definition of the Koshari Committee.
Well, what we are expecting right now is, and quickly apprise our viewers in terms of timeline today, 1 p.m. we are expecting a press conference at Jantar Mantar by ex-servicemen. What they are doing as we speak, a delegation from Jantar Mantar has gone to seek a meeting with the Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar. So 1 p.m. expecting a press conference of our ex-servicemen from Jantar Mantar. 2:30 p.m. we are expecting the Defence Minister to hold a press conference where we are expecting the government to give out its formula of one rank one pension. What we are going to do is right now directly cut across to ground zero. We are joined by Jugal Purohit, my colleague, as well as Anindo, picking up reactions from the ground. Anindo, we do know that a delegation from where you're standing right now has gone to meet the Defence Minister. But what word are you picking up? Is there a divide? Is there a certain amount? Are there ex-servicemen who've accepted the formula? What are you picking up?
Well, Preeti, at this point of time, there is growing frustrations within the veterans who have been protesting here almost for more than 80 days. And remember, it's not only the first 100 days, but also the relay hunger strike that has been on. And they feel that there has been attempts by the government, one, to dilute the definition of OROP, and two, to create a divide between the ranks of ranks within. Joining me is Colonel Singh. Sir, do you think that there has been an unfair move by the government on its part to divide the forces?
Absolutely. They are behaving like the Britishers did. This is not the way the government should behave. Government has behaved in a very shameless manner. They have gone back. They are going back on their promises. They are trying to dilute the very definition, and they're trying to bring in a rift between.
Even as we speak, there has been a meeting going on with the Raksha Mantri. What do you expect from there?
I don't know. After what I saw on the television yesterday, I think that the government is actually not serious.
But the government is going ahead with the implementation, isn't it?
Government is going ahead with the implementation. How can government just decide, okay, how can government decide that we will decide what OROP is, and we will come up with our own formula without talking to the veterans?
Right. There you see that's growing frustration. But very quickly, if I may add, Gaurav and Preeti, that there's also a political undertone here in this protest. As we speak, we have been hearing that the protesters may go and campaign against the BJP in Bihar, as well as we have heard reference of 56-inch of chest from the stage, from stage behind me, that is erected behind me. So there you have it, a strong political undertone of the whole protest, and that will be unfortunate if a protest that started
explain this. Explain this at this point of time. Ask the gentleman with you. According to Rajiv Chandrasekhar, Member of Parliament, this is the single biggest welfare measure undertaken by any government for the ex-soldiers. 8,300 crore rupees have never been set aside for pensions since 1947 till 2015. Why is that unacceptable to them when pensions of jawans and widows will go up considerably?
Right. Colonel Singh, tell us that Mr. Chandrasekhar, who has been fighting for you, is probably the lone MP who has been fighting for you. and always stood for you. He is saying that this is probably the only single largest and probably the first measure by the government as large as this, as far as OROP is concerned. Do you think that in spite of that, probably on part of the Jawans probably are a bit rigid, the war veterans are rigid, they are not flexible enough?
The veterans are not rigid at all. If the veterans were rigid, then they would not be wanting to talk to the government. Veterans are ready to talk to the government. Government is not ready to talk to the veterans. That's why she's coming out with her own formula.
But thousands of crores are being spent by the government. In spite of that, on little things like you're not, the accusation against you, sir, with all due respect, that you are not flexible.
Well, I don't think this question of flexibility at all. The basic issue is that you have to have the dignity of the service people. If you do not have any respect for the veterans, obviously you have no respect for the serving soldiers either. And this is going to...
Isn't the government showing enough respect by meeting you over and over again, trying to sort out the matters?
It's such a small issue which has been dragging, which has been promised again and again. The parliament has said it, the Supreme it, the Prime Minister has said it. Why is the Prime Minister so silent? Why can't they just, it's such a small amount, they can put...
Final question, Colonel Singh, with all due respect, that you are bringing the Prime Minister in, you are making it a political. From the stage here, we have heard reference of 56-inch chest. There are already murmurs that you will go and campaign against the BJP in Bihar. Do you think it will serve any purpose?
Obviously, we as people, we are disturbed. Veterans are highly frustrated, but veterans are highly angry because the way the government is such a small amount as for the government. Even if the government gives, let's say 3,000-4,000 crores extra, what the hell does it make? What difference will it make to the government? Even if they were to go a little extra, I personally think the government should go a little extra, then rather than expect veterans to say, okay, this is okay, 5 years okay, 10 years
Sir,
okay.
Otherwise you will make it political and go to Bihar and campaign against BJP. Is it true?
Well, if need be, I think that option is always there. And I think that is one way to teach the BJP government a lesson that you cannot take...
Probably that is the underlying tone of the whole movement that has transcended itself to that if need be, that will be the case. Probably that will be the last resort for the veterans to campaign against the party that is at helm at this point of time.
Well, right now everybody does hope that even now there is some middle ground that is reached. Stay on with me, Anand, there, because what I'm going to do is we're going to dip into the reaction of General Satbir Singh before he led that delegation to the Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar. Right now we do know that they're seeking a meeting with the Defence Minister. Let's listen in to that reaction and we are back with our reporters on ground.
सैनिकों ने वीआरएस लिया है, मतलब अपनी पूरी टर्म्स करने के बाद वो पेंशन पे आ गए हैं। जब उनको पेंशन मिल रही है तो ओआरओपी उसे मिलेगी। गवर्नमेंट ऐसा अनाउंसमेंट सोच रही है कि जिन्होंने वॉलंटरी रिटायरमेंट लिया है और पेंशन मिलता है उनको वन रैंक वन पेंशन लागू नहीं होगा। ये बिल्कुल नामंजूर है।
We only take premature retirement after completing our services, after earning our due pension. Hence, we take PMR and everybody who's getting pension, drawing pension from the central government, OROP will apply to him. Less than that, we will not.
So Raksha Mantri Manohar Parrikar is meeting the veterans right now. They're hoping to iron out differences. The veterans say, do not create a new divide. Do not say that those who take premature retirement will not be entitled to one rank, one pension. They're also saying at least try to review every 2 years, if not every year, but not 5 years. Jugal Purohit joins me now with the latest. Jugal, can there be a sweetener on both these aspects? One, review it every 3 years, if not every 5 years, and also remove the VRS clause.
Gaurav, what exactly is it that you are asking? I'm unable to hear you.
At this point of time, Jugal, can there be a sweetener? These talks that are happening between Manohar Parrikar and the veterans, the effort is to see everyone is on board. So take us through what your sources are telling you.
Well, Gaurav, see, there is this particular aspect which our viewers should understand. Why is it that the government chose to actually talk about a draft? Why is it that they actually spoke about it yesterday without actually speaking about it? My sense is, what I understand by speaking to different authorities in the MOD as well as the veterans, is that that was perhaps a way of testing the waters, understanding just how vitriolic will be the response, good, bad, ugly, and I think they've got an idea. One cannot absolutely rule out that between yesterday and today there is a likelihood of newer, additional, as you say, sweeteners being added into this particular agreement, because till the time the government actually speaks, it hasn't spoken, and it hasn't spoken, which means there is still room for flexibility. Why is it that since yesterday these veterans were trying to meet the RM, the Raksha Mantri Manohar Parrikar, they've got a time today, they've gone there today. One has to understand that even for the government of India, OROP is as much about fulfilling the demand of the veterans as much as it is a political statement. Will they want to give the OROP without reaping any political benefits? My mind, and I think every sane mind, will say the answer is no. Obviously, the government will have to get as many veterans on board as possible, and thus the answer to your question, Gaurav, is that there is every likelihood of there being a sweetener. That's what our sources are telling us. Gaurav, just one small point.
Okay.
I want my cameraman to tell you, to show you what's happening here at Jantar Mantar. Gaurav, I can tell you that this kind of a crowd I haven't seen here in the last 83 days, of which many days and many hours I have been here reporting on this issue. I haven't seen such a crowd. It is there today in anticipation of what is to take place at 3 p.m. and perhaps, as these veterans told us, September 12th, there may be a bigger crowd here. Back to you.
All right, we are hoping that there is no September 12th. We do hope even now that there is a middle ground as such that is reached. Well, till now it hasn't been made possible. Jugal and Anando, gentlemen, we're going to keep coming back right to you. I believe, Gaurav, we are joined by our managing editor, Rahul Kanwal, who's on the phone line with us. Rahul, is there any possibility at all, like Gaurav was pointing out, the fact of maybe a sweetener coming into the deal before that announcement is made by the Defence Minister come 2:30 p.m.?
What we are learning, Preeti, is that the government is trying to reach out to several ex-servicemen so that there are voices of support once one rank, one pension is announced. Because so far we've seen General Satbir Singh and a few others at Jantar Mantar oppose the government's formulation. However, several veterans, according to senior government officials, have actually reached out to the government and said that these people are being unreasonable and that they actually support what the government is intending to do, and this is being done after 50 years of a very hard-fought battle. And they believe that the government will not want that when this happens, there are only voices of protest and voices of dissent. They'll want that several, and some of the people that we've been speaking to also seem to suggest that they're actually reasonably satisfied. Obviously, nobody is fully satisfied, but that's the whole point of a negotiation, that there can't be 100% satisfaction for both sides. It's not possible. There has to be some give and take. So there are several veterans who are reasonably satisfied with what is being done, and you will see over the next 24 to 48 hours, some of these veterans come out and speak and say that, okay, we've got what we wanted, and this is a step, this is a start, and let's accept it. There will be those voices also. That attempt is also being made. A massive outreach effort currently underway by the BJP government at the bureaucratic level, at the political level, and at the party level to try and ensure that, the point that Jugal was referring to, you can't make this big an announcement, you can't make such a big move and yet, not have any appreciation for it, and yet not have any, not necessarily benefit's the wrong word, but not have anyone saying, okay, you've done what nobody else has been able to do. Nobody else has been able to do. That's a concern the Modi government does have, and
Rahul,
they're trying to work back channels to ensure that there are some people who come out and support. Yes, Gaurav, go ahead.
Rahul, you've been speaking to a large number of veterans over the past several weeks. Now, if we look at the current offer, the story that you broke yesterday, the government says we are bringing all the veterans, all the widows to the 2013 scale. We are giving them areas from July 2014, and then we review this process further. If there are discrepancies, there is a one-man commission that will look into it. Rajiv Chandrasekhar says this is the best welfare measure since independence. Are there veterans you've been speaking to who concur?
See, what are the veterans saying? They want the maximum of every grade. That no senior, no veteran should get less than what a junior, which is a serving person or somebody who's just retired, is getting. The government's OROP formula is maximum plus minimum of that grade divided by 2, which is the average of that grade. Because every year there'll be more and more people retiring, so every year the maximum will keep changing. That's a reasonable formula, Gaurav, because let's look at Jawans with 20 years of service. The minimum basic is 7,200, the maximum is 7,600. That works out to a minimum. That works out to an average of 7,200 rupees per month. That's just basic. So if 7,200 rupees per month is the basic that's being given, that is a reasonable formulation. Now, of course, the officers are saying that let it be 7,600, which is the maximum of the grade. But the government's point is, if they were to accept this, in any case, as you well know, Gaurav, all other pensions are revised once every 10 years.
Yes.
Whether these are bank officers' pensions, whether these are bureaucrat pensions, policeman pensions, whether it is government official pensions, IS, it's all once in 10 years. Because military men, veterans are special because of the effort that they make, because of the sacrifices that they make, this is already being changed to once in 5 years. You know, a very, very senior bureaucrat told me that this is a highly inflammable situation where if we don't handle this correctly and if we get carried away by emotional rationale, then this is going to come back to bite us later, because in a few months from now, the next pay commission reports will be out. There are already demands, as you well know, from the BSF, the CRPF, the CISF, that they should be given similar benefits. And why should they not have their pensions revised every 5 years? The moment in government you do something for one wing, you set a precedent which others will legitimately demand. Now, veterans can turn around and say,
Right.
well, if you've done it for us, do it for the others. But it's not that simple, because that will then have a spiraling effect in government finances, which they're deeply concerned about.
All right, appreciate you joining us, Rahul. We will keep coming back to you through the course of this afternoon, because we are expecting major developments on one rank, one pension here. Jugal, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
All right. You know, Jugal, with what we were talking about earlier, where you also went on to suggest that right now, even our veterans, even the ex-servicemen who are protesting right behind you at Jantar Mantar, are looking for a plausible way to retreat honorably. What is where they will give or concede ground on?
Well, you see, Preeti, insofar as the veterans' own point is concerned, they've shown some flexibility, though not much as the government would have wanted, by saying that revise our pensions once in 2 years and perhaps not going any further. So if you are to actually see the veterans aren't moving beyond that particular point, what has now taken place, more importantly, is that with the draft that we accessed yesterday, the veterans are now further agitated. They are talking about just why is the government speaking on the VRS aspect. They are saying that the government hasn't given consideration to our demand of 2 years. They wanted 5 years and longer. And there are n number of issues. They are also talking about the Veer Naris, the phase-wise payment. These veterans had said that they will be ready to accept bonds, but there should not be any phase-wise payment. They said that you give it to the other ranks money and give us the bonds. We are fine with waiting, but phase-wise is something which is not acceptable. Many questions, Preeti. What has essentially happened now is that while the veterans were hoping that there was one issue on which some flexibility more and the deal would have been sealed, now they are finding themselves embattled in more than one issues. And as I said yesterday, as well as now as we speak, they are trying to hammer out with the MOD an honorable exit from here. They do not want to be here, is what my sense is telling me. Back to you.
Oh, absolutely. It's an honorable exit for both. The government, after making all this effort, doesn't want to come out with all the veterans opposing this. The government has a sizable number of veterans who will accept this formula, is what our sources are telling us. But Jugal, there is another camp barely 20 meters from where you are standing, and you have Veer Naris and Jawans at that camp who are very keen for implementation of this one rank, one pension, because their pensions, the areas that the Veer Naris get in cash, is something that they're really looking forward to, Jugal.
Well, Gaurav, you see, I'll just pan my camera a little to the right and I'll show you just where that particular pandal is. Out there is where that particular pandal is, belonging to the JCOs, the Jawans and other ranks who have been camping here. Now it's interesting, Gaurav, that you raised this point. All along, these people from that particular camp have been saying that do not implement the OROP as has been agreed to, because that will mean that we will lose a fair share of our pensions and we won't get the kind of money that we should ideally get.
Right.
They did not want the government to actually implement the OROP. The government has come out with a different version of the OROP, if I can add it that way. And in that, there is a lot of middle ground that seems to have been covered. Now, this camp and this camp, there is a division between the two.
Okay.
And this government's new formula, which is taking the matter away from here a little towards that side, is actually likely to cause a divide in the camp. There is no doubt about that. Yesterday also I saw there were many out here who were wanting to listen to the government,
Yes.
who said that let's not get 100%, 90 or 80 is also fine, we will take it and march on. So that's what's taking place right now. And Gaurav, if I may just add, after the announcement is made, that tribe is likely to grow, the tribe which wants to listen, which wants to get out of Jantar Mantar. Back to you.
Okay.
All right. Appreciate you joining us, Jugal and Anando. We are going to keep coming back to the both of you.